can try and win championships, and that's what it's all about. When you look from the outside and you watch this team, I know we're going to have a real good, solid hockey team this year.
Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Eric Wilson. We're virtual today, traveled home for Thanksgiving, excited, gonna eat some turkey, and gonna watch some hockey. New York Rangers playing tonight at 10:30, super excited, and hopefully in this game, we continue to see the dominance of Igor Shesterkin. Igor Shesterkin, 2021-22 Vezina Trophy winner, is back on a tear, looking like the New York Rangers' best player once again. Eric, before we dive into Igor, how great he's been this season and how great we think he's going to continue to be, how are you doing today, my friend?
Dude, I'm doing good. I'm still back at the frat house, but I'm leaving like literally the second we finish recording this, going to a Tampa Bay Lightning meet and greet. I'm wearing the Rangers shirt there. I'm definitely going to chirp Victor Hedman because I know he's going to be there. I'm going to let him know that Adam Fox is better, and he might not like that. But, overall, pretty good. Playing LA tonight, my least favorite team, because I still haven't forgiven them from 2014. But Igor, let's just talk about that before I get too down bad.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and talk about Igor before Eric gets down bad. He's down bad as it is, but we won't talk about that. In the last 4 starts for Igor Shesterkin, a 3-0-1 record, 1.72 goals against average, and a .944 save percentage. These last 4 games, Igor is on a tear. He is on a mission with a 2-1 win versus San Jose, a 3-2 overtime loss versus Seattle, 4-1 win versus Arizona, and an 8-2 win versus Detroit. The Rangers are playing some really good hockey right now, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that Igor Shesterkin is not letting the puck into the net. Again, a 1.72 goals against average. He's not even letting them drop 2. He is dominating right now. And Eric, what are your thoughts on these last 4 performances out of Igor Shesterkin, and how important has his play been for the Rangers to get back to winning some of these games?
It's a little bit of a bittersweet thing because, it's really good to see Igor back as like the backbone of this team. He's really just carrying us to wins. But at the same time, that's kind of what we saw last season, where most of the wins that we got really just came because Igor saved us. And then by the end of the season, he was a little tired, a little, he needed more rest, and he was putting too much work into the team. And that's why we eventually lost in the playoffs. So it's like, yeah, it's really good to see him playing phenomenal. But at the same time, I am sad that it's because he needs to carry the team, and he's not just playing good while the offense and defense are also playing good.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate. I mean, we talked about that a lot when we were doing some recaps and game reactions during the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 6, and all of that versus the Lightning. We were talking about how Igor was playing well, but eventually it just became too much. He gets overwhelmed because the defense not playing well. I know we've talked about that a few times so far this season, Eric, that there are a few Rangers players defensively that we think need to be a lot better. What are your thoughts on the performances of the likes of Jacob Trouba, Adam Fox, Keandre Miller, all those guys, and how do you think that's affecting the way that Igor Shesterkin is playing?
I mean, it definitely has a huge factor, and if your defense isn't playing good, you're going to definitely have to put in more work. And I think it's safe to say that the Rangers defense has been extremely underwhelming this season so far, outside of Adam Fox, who is really just carrying the defensive lines. You mentioned Jacob Trouba. He's been looking a little better the last couple of games. Maybe we're over criticizing him a little bit, but there's definitely room for improvement with him, and especially the rest of the defense, like Braden Schneider, Zach Jones, Lieber Hayek, and all those guys, Ryan Lindgren. They all need to be better.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, but what do you think that we're seeing with the Rangers right now? Why is Igor really turning up his game right now? You're considering these last 4 starts probably being the best stretch of the season for the Rangers, and definitely the best stretch of the season for Igor Shesterkin so far. Again, a .944 save percentage. The puck is barely getting past him. What do you think that key has been for him to start elevating his game right now and playing at the level that he's playing at?
I think it's a couple of things. One is definitely consistency. We haven't seen Halak play that much in like recent games. I know he had one game against Nashville, I believe it was. But other than that, recently we've just been seeing straight Igor. So just to get into that consistent groove of playing game in and game out, it's really just made him get used to it. And he's just on a roll right now. And as long as he keeps playing and like not taking too long of a break, he's going to keep winning games and just getting better and better. The other thing that you can that attributes to this is just the schedule. The last couple of games, these last 4 starts that we're talking about specifically, it was versus San Jose, versus Seattle, Detroit, and Arizona. It's like those teams aren't that good. So obviously you're going to have good games when you go up against teams like that. But, Detroit's not even that bad, but we did win 8-2 against that team. But I think it's just that, consistency and just a little bit of an easy schedule. Hopefully that'll just raise his confidence. So going up against a team tonight like LA, who is pretty good this season, I think we're going to see Igor play, I'm assuming, but that's not confirmed yet, as far as I know at least. But yeah, that pretty much is like the 2 biggest things I would say.
Yeah, and you mentioned the word consistency. So how does Igor Shesterkin keep this play at this level, right? Because right now we're enjoying some wins, 3-0-1 record in the last 4 starts for Igor, and he is playing really well. But how do we keep that going? That's been a problem for the Rangers all season long, is consistency. They'll go on a streak, they'll win some games, then they're on a losing streak immediately afterwards, or at least overtime losing streak, right? And so when you look at the Rangers and their inability to be consistent, who do you place that on? I mean, you could argue Gerard Gallant. You could argue that's the playmakers in the top 6 on the offensive side of the puck who just aren't getting the shots in, right? But how does Igor Shesterkin maintain a level of high play consistently and keep the Rangers winning these games?
I'm honestly going to have to put it on both the offense and the defense here, not to just say like the entire team, but that's really what it is going to come down to. In a previous video that we just did recently, we talked about this upcoming schedule that we have coming up, and we're going against a lot of really good teams. We play the Devils twice next week, I think, who are currently on like a 13-game win streak or something crazy like that. So it's going to be really tough for Igor to keep these stats up. He's going to be going against some of the greatest offensive powers in the league. So you really need the defense to play their best to help him out as much as possible. And then you're also going to need the offense to step up and just hopefully outscore them. So it really just comes down to that. Igor will stay being Igor. He will play great. But, when the team in front of you isn't playing good, there's only so much that you can do. So it really just comes down to that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of been the key for the Rangers, right? Is keeping those guys outside of the net playing well, because we've always kind of had that great keeper, that great goalie in Igor Shesterkin all season long and last year. But there are times where the Rangers defensemen or even the offense just kind of falter. And a lot of that has to do with a lack of depth. Bottom 6 depth is something that we talked about recently, Eric, and that's kind of gotten the Rangers in some trouble on numerous occasions this season and last. So I think that when you look at the Rangers' depth, that's pretty crucial. So the Rangers need to see what they could do. Maybe when we get closer to the trade deadline, talk about upgrading the depth. But right now, we just need some better performances from those guys in the bottom 6, and that'll go hand in hand with the way that Igor Shesterkin is playing and hopefully help him improve and continue to play at this high level. But in our last episode, Eric, we talked about this road stretch that the Rangers are on right now being really, really important. And so far, we're seeing some good performances out of Igor. Now, we're only in the beginning portion of this road trip. But what do you think of the rest of the road trip? How confident are you that the Rangers are going to be able to come out of this with a solid record, get that playoff record, or that Thanksgiving record that translates to playoffs historically, right? What does this next few games mean to Igor Shesterkin, and how important is it for him in particular to help the Rangers win these games?
I mean, I think it's definitely very important. And I think the most important game that will determine this outcome is tonight against LA. The road trip started with a 3-2 overtime loss against Seattle. And that was one of those ones where like it's winnable, but it's understandable if we don't win. Seattle's surprisingly very good this season. So I'm just happy that we got a point out of that. The game against San Jose, we won 2-1. But despite winning, it was like one of the most boring games I've ever watched as a Rangers fan. There were like no goals, no offensive consistency like throughout the entire game until like the last 10 minutes of the game. So Anaheim will close off the road trip. They're horrible this season, knock on wood. But I think that's like the most winnable game ever. We're definitely going to win. And it was really just tonight against LA, who's a very good team, a lot of depth there, and has proven to be one of those teams that's just like our kryptonite throughout the last couple of seasons. Like we always just find a way to lose against LA. So I think it really just comes down to that. If we can pull off a win tonight and then a win against Anaheim, we'll be coming out of this road trip with a 4-0-1 record, I think, or 3-0-1, something like that, which is better than we could ever ask for.
Right, better than we can ask for, but all that we hope for. So, hoping to see Igor Shesterkin go out there, put up some shutouts, and keep the Rangers winning, particularly tonight against LA. Screw LA. Eric hates LA, and I want Eric to be happy, and I'll be happy if the Rangers win too. So, hoping to see the Rangers win.
I hate the Kings.
We know you do, but. Taking a look at Igor Shesterkin, we had a great time diving into this one. Let us know down below in the comment section what you think of Igor Shesterkin, the way that he's been playing, particularly over the last 4 games, but all season long. Let us know your thoughts down below. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. We'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Rangers.
Dude, I just remembered Ryan Strome is on Anaheim. I have to watch that guy play.
Oh, God. That's going to be a scary night. I'm going to probably avoid Eric that night.
God damn it. We're going to lose. I take back everything.
He shoots. He